Hello, everyone. So, I was asked to do a reading for the Balkans and Montenegro. And so, I already did the reading and I wrote it out, so I'll just go ahead and read what I wrote. For Montenegro, a calm, peaceful area surrounded by noise. Speaking of which, there we go. Calm, peaceful area surrounded by noise. People going long distances to transport their things and stay out of the tidal waves of chaos around from the northwest and south of the country. That would be to the north, outside of the country, the northern countries and the southern countries below Montenegro. There seems to be a lot of delivering of goods back and forth and a somewhat more safe area to live than the surrounding areas. People seem to enjoy the simple things in life and enjoy playing games for fun with each other. There's a sense of loneliness, but this still being within a strong family network, as if people may be very close to family there in an old-fashioned manner, but there's a sense of excitement when they see someone who's from somewhere else, as if wanting to be part of something more. I see this being a very joyful place for children to grow up in. However, as adults, as these children get older, I see there being a much more serious energy that takes over the country. It's as if this generation of young childhood fun and games becomes more dark and serious as adults. This isn't dark necessarily in the sense of negative, necessarily, but more so in the sense of a little distrusting of others. I see people in the future sticking together as groups and networks as if to be on guard towards anyone who may invade their land. A very standoffish type of attitude. This is not on a governmental level, though. This is on an individual level and a community level. The mistrust of others creates somewhat of a bad attitude and stubbornness to want to grow and evolve, to prevent them from wanting to grow and evolve in a cultural way. So it becomes a little stagnant and overly conservative of their culture. I do see the rest of the world moving very fast in cultural advances and changes to the economy and ways of life, including social interactions and all means of existence. This is something I mentioned in my other videos as well, about a serious change that's going to be happening very shortly, starting this year actually. Montenegro doesn't want to change and views themselves as perfect in some aspects, I would say, and therefore they need to fight off any foreign infections or invaders. I see this country staying very much so the same for 5 years from now, but within 8 to 12 years or so, that would be around 2030 to 2034, there seems to be a change to a more conservative perspective that brings up images of the Dark Ages for me. And this is more symbolic than literal as far as the Dark Ages goes. This is about honoring working hard and doing things the old-fashioned way. This is about pride in their country and culture that is a little divisive from the rest of the world. I see a little bit of aggressiveness coming about around 10 years from now, that being around 2032, towards another country to the northwest of them, possibly Italy or Croatia. There is a conquering sentiment that takes over at that time. I see this being short-lived and more of a cultural attitude than anything political. There may be some threats of not cooperating with the larger economy as a statement of discontent, but it seems to be viewed more as a stubbornness from other countries rather than an actual threat. In about 15 to 20 years, that being around the year 2037 to 2042, I see boats along the bay transporting very big loads of goods, and possibly bananas. I could be way off on that, but that's just something that came to my mind. There seems to be things of large mass being transported. There seems to be a decision politically about adapting of policies to work in their favor regarding other countries. There seems to be deals being made that would shift the economic landscape for good. This isn't necessarily negative or good, but it is a change that would bring more technological advancement and modernization to the country. This doesn't change the culture as much as it just changes the economy and some of the practices of the people. There is a kingdom type of vibe here, or that I was just picking up on. Like, people of royalty are respected, as if there is a king, but it is not in a tyrannical way. It is much more about the style of the culture. There is actually a lot of respect within this. A man in power seems to be very active and concerned about his country. This is not just any politician. This man really respects his country. There is respect for him as well, hence the royal style vibe. I see it as a man dressed like he should be at a castle, running around with big concerns about making things right for his people again, although this is more symbolic than literal. After 20 years, there may be some sort of war that doesn't seem aimed at destroying their country in particular, but is more so using their country's land and resources to help further their conquering of countries to the north. This might not be a war with a country as much as just a terrorist movement. It doesn't seem to be too devastating and only touches to northern parts of the country. The bulk of the country seems to be perfectly fine and safe, but there will be some casualties to the north if this happens. This will be felt with great sorrow and heartfelt emotions by the people of the country who strive to take care of each other as brothers and sisters. This rattles their perfect pictures of their culture, and people seem to allow themselves to live more in the present moment and without judgment about how they should live. This doesn't change their culture in much of a way besides people become a little less conservative about their cultural values, and people become a little more free-spirited. I do see this causing some problems for some people that may result in death from disease. This is shown to me in the image of a woman drinking from the well that she isn't traditionally supposed to, that is poisoned, and then she dies from it. People seem to slowly leave more traditional ways of being for the newer modernization of the world, which will be different from what we even know about right now. This will happen around 30 years or so from now. That is within that country, in particular Montenegro. The world will drastically change in the next 3 years. This is beyond the country. This is the whole world will change in the next 3 years. By 2025, we will be living in a whole new world collectively as the whole planet. Things will change drastically, and I'll put a link to my video where I talk about that, or a couple of videos where I talk about that below this video, so you can check those out if you don't know what I'm talking about. This will be far beyond what you would expect. So moving on to the Balkans in general, which is, as far as I understand, just kind of like a bigger landmass that is around that area that includes Montenegro, which I don't even really know anything about. That's what it appears to be, just a general area. So anyways, the Balkans in general, I see the eastern area having flights. So the eastern side of it having flights, like airplanes are transporting things. people of high importance. These people may be underground political leaders who don't have much to do with the big players or big powers of the world, but who may take some temporary strong power that could take over a large area and then dissipate and become like many small religious organizations of the Middle East that we experience today. This could happen in around 20 to 30 years or so from now. The northern west area of the Balkans, there seems to be much more economic growth and commerce, and I see this as like civilization, like buildings and, like kind of westernization, more high-tech type of stuff going on there. There's more civilization and wealth there. The high-profile people in the other eastern side seem far removed from the economic growth of the West, and to the south of the Balkans area, people seem much more farmer-like and to themselves. There is not much of a general consensus of this whole general area. It's kind of just different people doing different things in different sides of it. There may be some struggle in the northeast with political or religious tension. This could be a place of terrorism or danger. It is also a place where people could be easily swayed by such things due to the lack of resources or other options. There could be some money that develops in that northeastern area that could surmount some serious power slowly as a trickle effect starting in the next 10 years and playing out to about 20 years where I see a potential bang, like a battle or an explosion. This doesn't wipe them out completely, as in the high-profile people, but it is devastating to the northern area of the Balkans between the east and the west. So it's not necessarily the east or the west side of the northern border area, but it's more so on the east, although it's mostly just kind of at the top center area. This doesn't, I already read that. I do see remains of ruins remaining from the aggressors, such as it may destroy them, but there's leftover troops, leftover people, leaders. The movement continues on, in other words. There's remains from the aggressors, and this is not being the end of them. Although I do see their ways being corrected by higher powers of control within the world, such as other countries banding together and preventing this from continuing on within the world afterwards, and they are not able to be so destructive in the future. It is as if they actually remorse for their sins and ask for forgiveness. However, their philosophy remains, and they will still believe things that put them at odds with many others. This seems to be religious in nature. Take this all with a grain of salt, for this is speculation based on images in my head. So don't assume everything I say is always going to happen exactly the way that I see it. So, thank you for watching, and have a great day.